Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Just check, see what audio I'm on. So that's echo cancellation on. Audio I'm on. So that's echo cancellation on. Now we'll try it with stereo audio. See if it, hi Jazz. See if it's better with stereo audio. Switch that off, switch that on. See if that's any better. Switch that off, switch that on. See if that's any better. Switch that off, switch that on. See if that's any better. Okay, so well, there's, as I say, there's these two options of the mic. One is stereo audio, one is echo cancellation. So if the echo cancellation one is fine, and the other thing I wanted to just check if it makes any difference having the headphones plugged in or not. Okay, so if the echo cancellation one is fine, and the other thing I wanted to just check if it makes any difference having the headphones plugged in or not. Okay, so if the echo cancellation one is fine, the other thing. Okay. Enough of messing about with that. Hi, Mark. Yes, as I kind of guessed, and as I kind of surmised, 5 o'clock in the morning is stupid o'clock. Let's do something tomorrow, Mark, or tomorrow morning my time, sort of evening time your time, or later on in the week, maybe even the weekend, and you can say all that you wanted to say about the Dude Advocacy Foundation. But so thankfully, as I say, Mark's absolutely fine. He's not like the Dude. He doesn't change into a werewolf, or in his case, a shark, and go off swimming around the barrier reef. Oh, hi, Doctor. Hi, Alice. Hi, Sean and Jazz. Yes, I think that's everybody here. So you'll recall that quite a while back, we looked at a document that was authored in about 2009 called Strengthening Forensic Science. So a couple of articles here, which are very interesting. Obviously, in Stephen Brendan's case, forensic science is ultimately what freed him. It's got what's going to free him again. What put him there in the first place? Faulty eyewitness identification. Obviously, highly coerced, but it's still classed as faulty eyewitness identification. And it's staggering that even at court, when Penny Bernstein is saying things like, well, I had a good look at the perpetrator, brown eyes, Steve's are blue. Distinctly remember white underpants. Steve doesn't have any. Apparently, she later on, she was sort of led to believe that it must have been that the pockets of the jeans were white, and that's why she thought white underpants. No, we're not buying that at all, are we? She immediately knew that something was wrong, but who could she turn to? It's not like you can call the A-team. Obviously, Kathleen Zellner realized straight away it's, when you've got this case against Steve that looks so, tight, watertight, and then you actually look at the evidence, the DNA evidence and all that kind of stuff, you realize how, to use the technical term, how wonky it all is. So Kathleen has always been keen on strengthening forensic science. And of course, Dean and Jerry setting up their Center for the Integrity of Forensic Science is an excellent move as well. Of course, we've seen some of the ridiculous high millibility Millbilly. I'll get it right in a minute. Hi, Millbilly. We've seen in the past how awful some of these forensic sciences are. Sciences in general are pretty awful. So this isn't meant to be at all political, because as certainly the doctor and myself have noticed in the book Blind Injustice, as Mark Godsey points out, wrongful convictions don't just belong to one public party. The other parties can be just as bad, if not worse, in trying to perpetuate this image that they're tough on crime. Everybody wants to be seen to be tough on crime. This is not meant to be at all a politically slanted opinion. Rob, we'll just read what's been presented and take it from there. But as I say, I just want to make it absolutely clear, I am not for one moment advocating that one political party is any better than another. This is simply what people have written. I think it's fair to say, though, that the general consensus of opinion amongst certainly the defence lawyers seems to be that they welcome a change of leadership. Anyway, let's have a look. First up, I wanted to share this with you. Okay, let's just go back up to the title, which I've skipped for some reason. Here's a picture of Eric Lander, head of the Broad Institute of, I can hardly read that, it's MIT and Harvard, delivers a speech during a forum in Mexico City on September the 7th, 2010. So in The Intercept, this is, will bringing science back to the White House reinvigorate forensics reform? And I must also just point out that obviously we've still to go back to that strengthening forensic science. I realised there's still more of that to look at, which I've been sort of saving for when things get a bit quieter. And also I want to carry on looking at Richard Leo's testimony in Brendan's case. But I thought this would be a good one to have a look at. The other article I only came across a couple of hours ago. Okay, Eric Lander, Biden's pick for top science advisor, co-authored a damning report on the faulty forensic practices behind hundreds of wrongful convictions. It wasn't long after the incoming Biden administration announced its nominees for key science policy posts that Twitter began to celebrate with hashtag Science is Back. Among those using the hashtag was Eric Lander, a mathematician and molecular biologist who played a lead role in mapping the human genome, and whom Joe Biden had just nominated to be director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Tremendously excited to work alongside so many bright minds to advise the president-elect and push the boundaries of what we dare to believe is possible, Lander posted on January 15. We need everyone. Science is back. This isn't the first time Lander has been tapped to advise the White House. Under former President Obama, Lander served as co-chair of the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. During his tenure, Lander was involved in 39 reports the group wrote on a wide variety of topics, including antibiotic resistance, big data and privacy, and climate change. While Lander's career has not been without controversy, his role in a September 2016 report has many in the criminal legal system hopeful about his return to the White House. That fall as in, of course, autumn, got me thinking then, what did he fall? Okay, that autumn, PCAST did not mince words, concluding that a host of long-used pattern matching forensic practices lacked sufficient scientific underpinning. Neither experience nor judgment nor good professional practices can substitute for actual evidence of foundational validity and reliability, the members wrote. It is an empirical matter, not which only empirical evidence is relevant. Sorry, did I get that wrong? Thank you, computer. That's just what I need. Don't you just love it, eh? Bloody thing. Done that bit. Let's move on down. This button is you have to be very light-fingered and careful. I think I misread that. It is an empirical matter for which only empirical evidence is relevant. Okay, let's be careful here. After 4 years of the Trump administration, which saw federally driven efforts at reforming forensics grind to a halt, many hope that having Lander and other well-respected scientists in key policy positions will reinvigorate those initiatives. He knows the challenges we face scientifically and operationally, said Max Hook, a forensic expert with the Global Forensic and Justice Center at Florida International University and the editor-in-chief of an international forensics journal. I think when he gets around to addressing issues on forensic science, at least he does it with foreknowledge. I don't know if everything is conspiring against me at the moment. My wife has just put the washing machine on, of course, and I just said to her, you know, I'm doing a live video in 2 minutes, so I apologize for the noise of the washing machine in the background. Yes, my studio is in the laundry. No, it's not. It's a separate room, but the washing machine's noisy. Hopefully, you'll still be able to hear it okay. Okay, save for DNA analysis, forensic science disciplines were mainly developed according to the needs of law enforcement, bereft of scientific underpinning. That's particularly true of so-called pattern matching practices like fingerprint analysis, firearm analysis, bite mark analysis, shoe tread analysis, and handwriting analysis, all of which involve an expert looking at a piece of evidence and visually tying it to a suspect. PCAST was not the first body to point out the lack of scientific foundation to these practices. In 2009, the National Academy of Sciences released a landmark study entitled Strengthening Forensic Science, which, as I say, I've done at least 2 or 3 videos about it, at least 2. I intend to get back to this. So that, as I say, back in 2009, Strengthening Forensic Science in the United States, A Path Forward, which questioned the basis of nearly every forensic discipline used to arrest, prosecute, and send people to prison. With the exception of DNA analysis, it found no forensic method has been rigorously shown to have the capacity to consistently and with a high degree of certainty demonstrate a connection between evidence and a specific individual or source. The release of the NAS, the Strength in Forensic Science report, led to massive upheaval in the forensics community, a seismic disruption that is still playing out. Many practitioners, including in the fingerprint community, embraced the criticisms of the NAS and quickly set on a course to shore up their practices. Whereas others, Michael West, others, like the forensic dentists who continue to peddle bite mark analysis, were defiant, claiming that their practices were invaluable and reliable, notwithstanding more than 30 wrongful convictions based on bite mark evidence. You shouldn't laugh at this stuff, but it's just bizarre, isn't it? It was amid this backdrop that the Obama administration got to work. In 2013, the Department of Justice formed the National Commission on Forensic Science to enhance the practice and improve the reliability of forensic science. In February 2016, at the annual meeting of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, then Deputy Attorney General and Forensics Commission co-chair Sally Yates announced that the Justice Department would be conducting a stress test on various disciplines performed in the FBI lab as a means to ensure the public's ongoing confidence in the work we do. Well, I certainly hope that they do a stress test on Mark LeBeau's EDTA testing. Incidentally, I just remembered how I came across that Strengthening Forensic Science report was that it was actually in it's actually mentioned in Mark Gods's book, and it was particularly mentioned in the review of Mark Gods's book, which obviously was what I read quite a bit of at the time. It'll be well worth looking at that document from 12 years ago now. Anyway, some 6 months later, it issued its report. Its conclusions were in line with the NAS report, but was more blunt about the need for rigorous scientific testing of pattern matching practices without appropriate estimates of accuracy. An examiner's statement that two samples are similar or even indistinguishable is scientifically meaningless. It has no probative value and considerable potential for prejudicial impact. The pushback, even within the Obama administration, was swift. Attorney General Loretta Lynch suggested that the Justice Department would ignore their conclusions. The FBI balked, saying their conclusions were overbroad. A crime lab industry trade and lobbying group claimed that the members of this team were biased. The National District Attorneys Association made wild-eyed claims that seemed to miss the point of the report entirely, including that the maligned forensic practices were reliably used every day, and the recommendations for reform were scientifically irresponsible. As it turned out, the prosecutors and industry groups had little to fear. The momentum towards reform was stopped in its tracks when Donald assumed office and tapped Senator Jeff Sessions to take over as Attorney General. A former prosecutor, Sessions has made his position clear when responding to the NAS report back in 2009, with a bit of his own misleading language. I don't think we should suggest that those proven scientific principles that we've been using for decades are somehow uncertain, he said. It's interesting, isn't it? It's the similar to the Wisconsin court system. Um, you know, we're happy with what we've been doing over the last 20, 30 years. It doesn't matter that we're doing it wrong. We're happy because that's what we did in the past. And this is a quote here that we'll get to by Chris Fabricant. Sessions quickly put an end to the National Commission on Forensic Science and installed Kansas City, Missouri prosecutor Ted Hunt as the head of a mysterious forensics working group that never appeared to do much at all. The planned FBA stress test never happened. Trump didn't bother to appoint a director of science policy until nearly 2 years after taking office. He appointed a meteorologist, and he didn't enlist PCAST until November 2019. In all, the group met 4 times. Now, to say that the Trump administration did nothing on forensics isn't entirely true. On January 13th, the Justice Department posted a 26-page statement responding to the 2016 report. While there is no author attached, it reflects statements that Hunt, Sessions, and other critics of reform have previously made. The Justice Department did not respond to questions about who authored the statement and whether it was reviewed by experts either inside or outside the department. The critique, 4 years later, asserts that pattern matching practices are based on subjective eyeballing of evidence by technical experts and as such don't belong to the branch of science known as metrology, the study of measurement. That's just fine, the statement argues, and shouldn't have any bearing on whether the techniques are admissible in court. The argument is that because forensic practitioners take no measurements, a fundamental tenet of science, the PCAST critique is irrelevant because pattern matching techniques are not part of metrology. Eyeballing the evidence is good science, in other words. In other words, now Chris Fabricant, Director of Strategic Litigation at the Innocence Project, and who we see in the Innocence File documentaries, Netflix, wrote in an email to The Intercept, "It's like arguing that because my airplane doesn't have wings, it's immune from the laws of thermodynamics." Ultimately, Fabricant wrote, posting the statement just 7 days before the end of the Trump presidency sends a singular message. It seems an effort to draw a line in the sand on the way out the door. Progress stops here. Now, I think this is somebody from about 2009 in Wisconsin. I'm sure it is. Yep. Robert Lee Stinson hugs his sister on January 13th, 2009 in New Lisbon, Wisconsin. His attorneys from the Wisconsin Innocence Project look on. Stinson was exonerated after serving more than 20 years in prison based on flawed bite mark evidence. In addition to heading up the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Lander was also nominated to serve as presidential science advisor, which Biden is elevating to a cabinet position. In a 3-page letter to Lander, Biden laid out 5 broad questions that he'd like his science advisors to address in order to ensure a healthier, safer, more just, peaceful, and prosperous world. While there are certainly pressing matters to focus on, the pandemic, the climate crisis, reforming forensics would fit within the goals. that Biden has expressed. Indeed, as a member of the Innocence Project's board of directors, Lander no doubt understands the human cost of continuing to use faulty forensic practices. To date, flawed forensics have led to hundreds of wrongful convictions. Roughly a quarter of the more than 2,700 cases in the National Registry of Exonerations involve faulty or misleading forensic evidence. Forensic errors have been implicated in about half of the more than 500 exonerations based on DNA testing. Peter State, President and CEO of the Houston Forensic Science Center, one of the nation's only independent public sector crime labs, say the challenges around forensic science are nuanced and include the fact that forensics have never had a true home in the federal government. To date, the federal government's modest support for forensics has generally been through its law enforcement arms, which the NAS report concluded left labs and practitioners vulnerable to bias. Instead, the NAS suggested that a new, strong and independent entity should be created that could help with standards, research and funding for the nation's disaggregated forensics community. That hasn't happened, but Stout says he's encouraged that with legitimate scientists being appointed to Biden's administration, there may come an opportunity for a realistic discussion about what really is going to have to happen and the number of dollar signs that go with that. In addition to Lander, Biden has tapped other renowned scientists to head up his administration's efforts to inject science into the major policy decisions ahead, including Alondra Nelson, president of the Social Science Research Council, and a professor of the Institute for Advanced Study, who was nominated to become Deputy Director for Science and Society at the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Sound science will touch every aspect of what the administration does, from new policy to addressing social inequality to the implications of new technologies. Nelson posted to Twitter, January 15th, inclusive and trustworthy science will have a place in government. Quick to respond was C. Michael Barras, a forensic dentist in California, who was among the first to sound the alarm about problems with his colleagues' bite mark analysis. He has since become an outspoken critic of the practice and has worked to exonerate people convicted on the basis of bite mark evidence. Please work unreliable forensics into your agenda, he wrote. It will save lives. And then, as I say, that was a couple of days I saw that. And then just this morning, California bill seeks to reform expert witness testimony. So this was just yesterday. A California senator introduced a bill last week that seeks to change the legal standard for expert witness testimony, specifically in relation to forensic evidence. Senator Scott Weiner's Senate Bill 243, also known as the End Wrongful Convictions Act, would expand the definition of false evidence to include expert forensic opinions that are outdated and have been proven invalid within the expert's own scientific community. Bite mark evidence is perhaps the most famed example of an outdated method previously used in many cases, but concluded to be scientifically invalid by the 2016 report. Problematic forensic science remains a leading cause of wrongful convictions, occurring in nearly half of DNA exoneration cases and 1/4 of all exonerations in the United States. Research shows that experts whose opinion led to wrongful convictions used either forensic science that was flawed or scientific methods that are widely questioned within the scientific community. the Northern California Innocence Project said in a statement. The bill seeks to ensure that all expert testimony, as well as the underlying materials used to form said opinions, have a reliable foundation, proper methodology, and sound logic. For our justice system to work, we need to convict the guilty and not convict the innocent. Sadly, we convict far too many innocent people based on faulty expert scientific testimony. We're pursuing first in the nation legislation to put an end to this problem by requiring significantly more scrutiny of scientific testimony to ensure that it's actually valid, Werner said in a statement. The senator proposed a previous version of this bill in February 2020, but it died in committee due to the COVID outbreak. Induced shortened 2020 legislative calendar. Both SB 243 and its predecessor are sponsored by the California Innocence Project. Wine has been actively involved in criminal justice reform throughout his political career. Previously, he authored SB 924, which seeks to ensure that law enforcement uses evidence-based procedures for eyewitness identification. Eyewitness misidentification is a leading contributor to wrongful convictions proven with DNA evidence. Well, eyewitness misidentification is a leader contributor to wrongful convictions proven with DNA evidence. Who do we know that was proved innocent by DNA evidence, but was originally convicted with eyewitness misidentification? As Judy de Verbiage famously said, that sounds like Stephen Avery. Before SB 93 was signed into law, California had no statewide best practices for eyewitness identification, and there were no evidence-based standards in place. This new bill, may be acted upon on or after February the 21st. So there we go. Hopefully that's good news going forward. Good news for me, Millbilly. I presume nope and no news refers to AC. I'm really, I really cannot see Laura and Moira offering Greaseback and Corbin anything at all. I'm sure they are going to stick to their guns, and let's put this before a trier of facts, because at the moment that's not what Judge Duffin is doing. He's not a trier of facts. He's trying to get them to mediate, to see where they stand. I mean, that was one of the questions that was asked straight away, wasn't it? What amount are Greaseback and Colburn asking for? But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? I think it was Dave Bogotka that said to me, where's the money coming from? Okay, Colburn's a retired policeman, but where does he get the money from to take on Netflix in a civil suit? Well, of course, it's Greaseback is behind it, and you wonder why Greaseback would be so keen to pursue this, to try and make him look good. Anyway, so no news yet, Millbilly, but I seem to remember that it was going to be March the 9th that they were going to have another conference, and that in the meantime, it's got to be they've got to send letters to the judge about things that they think are relevant in the case, and they've got to exchange these envelopes, these letters saying that I think Andy Corbin's got to say how much he thinks he's deserved and the reasons why, and Law and Moira have got to tell him exactly why they're giving him the sweet FA. So it'll be interesting to follow. So good, great job that you're doing there, Millbilly. Really appreciated that you took the time to jump through all the necessary hoops and hurdles to get us that information. Okay. Yeah, I just don't see Laura and Moira doing that. Think about that other Millbilly video where Laura Riccardi is, castigating Steve, saying, back in, January of 06, ask why on earth did you settle for this paltry 400,000? And, Manitrock County are let off the hook. I can't see them settling at all. I think it's definitely, well, it could well be that, the likely scenario is that because they'll get nowhere with it, that, they're not going to have, deep pockets deep enough to take it very far. I don't think so, because there's the likely scenario is they're going to end up with absolutely nothing. And I don't think even Andy Corbin and Mike Griesbach are quite that stupid. But as somebody once famously said, never underestimate the predictability of stupidity. Where did you go? Ah, there it went. Where did that go? If this goes to trial, I wonder if Gacy will be called to testify on statements made against AC in MAM 2. Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it, eh? That would be brilliant. Anyway, we'll wait and see. Okay, anyway, T1, I'm off to my Bible class, so I'll catch you and all you other guys in the not too distant future. Thank you all for joining in. As I say, Mark, hopefully we'll get together with the Oz before the weekend, or maybe at the weekend, and he can tell us more about that little badge there that I've stuck to the green screen. It's the logo for the. Let me bring it a bit closer here. Let's see it properly there. Okay, we'll catch you all. I'm just laughing at T1. If you can only see the top bit of me, I'm going to have to go and do another 10,000 miles in this snow. So we'll catch you later. Thanks again. Bye for now.